Chat. Let's wait for some people to get in here. I'm gonna go walk around real quick. So I shall be back. Let some people join up. Let me get the link. Zoom link is in the comments for anybody that wants to join the Zoom. Hop on. Be right back. Ben,
What's up?
what's going on?
Am I the first one here? Damn.
Yeah,
How are
just
you doing
wondering.
today, sir?
I'm good. You're sideways though.
Hold on. Can I not? Oh, there we go.
There you go.
It didn't rotate at first. I said I'm good. I'll take it back. I'm okay. I'm working on a Surface Pro 4, so how good can you really
uh,
be?
no, no, no thanks. I've never heard a good repair come out of those. It's usually nothing but issues. Battery. Isn't it battery they don't power back on or something after replacing the screen and it causes
I've
an
never
issue? I
had
can
that issue. I'm gonna turn my camera off and mute. I'll be back in a second.
sounds good. I'm gonna do the same. All right. Tony says he's coming. Got plenty of time. Plenty of time. Good thing is I didn't say anything important, but I'm glad you pointed that out, Richard. Nobody's probably even really watching or paying attention, but I was going to say you don't have to join the Zoom. You can watch here on live. If you want to join the discussion, you can join the Zoom, and that's why I'm waiting for Chris and David and a couple other people to join this. It usually takes us about 15 minutes to kind of get up and going. Tony will be on soon. But I want to wait for these guys for us to start the conversation about the topic. So I think it's a pretty important topic. We see it often in the groups, people getting broken into, and obviously it sucks as a business operator and owner experiencing it, but it also sucks for us as a community to see it happening to others. So I think there's many ways we can kind of help each other and make suggestions, and from experiences, from what we've seen and what we practice ourselves, right? So some people just don't implement the right security policies or processes in their shop, and I think it can always be improved, right? It's just, you're always taking inventory of what you're doing, your processes. You're counting your inventory, but what else are you doing to improve your business and making sure you're staying on it, on the right edge and staying above. So we'll let them see if these guys will join up here in a few minutes. And until then, we kind of just hang out and sing songs. Ben sometimes will eat food. Uh, Tony sometimes gets his hair cut. Yeah, see, and that's one thing. Uh, the multiple. Nice. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, the failed attempts are, while they're great, right? That they didn't get in, or maybe they didn't get away with anything, but it's still a hassle, right? It's still a headache. Now you either have a broken window, a fucked up door, you have, some damage you have to, come in and take care of, right? So it's a massive headache. It's a win, right? I'd rather deal with that than having to call customers and being like, fuck, sorry, your phone got stolen. Or, like that's gotta be the worst, right? Like to make those kind of calls and let customers know that like something that they trusted you with is now gone because your business was broken into, but you didn't take the right, steps to protect, not only your own inventory, but your customers' devices, right? Like it's their privacy. So there's a lot to it, not just the protection of, property at that point.
That's been like my biggest fear is like having a break-in and not, losing all my inventory, but losing like a customer's phone with important data on it.
Yep. Yep. I mean, it sucks as you as the business owner too, because you got to feel for him, because it's like dang, like and you've got, whether it's a mom with thousands of pictures of her kids on it for the last 10 years, or whatever it may be. There's always, we keep everything on our phones at this point. Like, let's be honest, like our lives are pretty much on our phones, and that's why most people are anxious just to get their phones back so quick for repairs, because they feel so attached. We are attached to it. It's not they, we all are, right? Like there's no there's no disconnect there at this point. But like I think that's the biggest thing is people value that, and they're scared to let it go. So to think that like it's gone or lost, and like, let's be honest, at that point most customers are not educated on iCloud. They're not setting up iCloud. They're not backing up anything most of the time. And if they are, they're using that 5 gig like default that's maxed out. Like think about it, 70 gigs of photos, but 5 gigs of iCloud storage, and they're not paying for it. And I don't know, there's just so much to it, which, you can flip that into that's an easy way to make money, right? Host a little, I wouldn't say webinar, but like in person kind of thing at your shop. Go through a tool, the steps of let's get your iCloud set up. Like, let's make sure you do all of these, and like have like, you know, sell it to them as like a course almost, but do it right. Like, don't just like kind of scam them out of it and be like, okay, that you're good, but like educate them at the same time. So they're going to feel more confident, but it also protects them, right? You're doing good by helping them. I think that's a
Right.
big thing of, they just don't know. And unless they have somebody that is in their family that's going to educate them on, hey, mom, or hey, Aunt Cindy, you need to do this with your phone. You're not going to have any of this stuff if you lose that or if you drop that in the water or like it's at risk if it's not being back. Like they just don't know. They just think it's being done automatically. Like if you had phones back whenever everything was on SIM cards, like that's how most of that like people are still in that mindset. They don't think about storage like we do, or like we see it the same way. Ben locked up on me. All I see is his finger. There we go.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
You're
I
good.
think I think it's very important. Like obviously it's really important to make sure that you're secure and you can avoid something like that happen. But this, and I'm lacking in this area too, but I think that it would be very important to have that as part of your waiver, and have that sign on
Yeah.
intake. Hey, when
Yep.
you drop this off to us, make sure that you're backed up, make sure that everything's taken care of because we can only be held liable for the device if we get broken into. You can't put a price on data. And
Yep.
so if you're not, finding a way to hold yourself harmless for something like that, you're leaving yourself open to a lawsuit with whatever number they come up with on it.
Yeah. No, I agree, and that's a good way. And I think it's nice. It's, on top of that, obviously, just like you said, it's educating them and letting them know in advance. Like you're explaining that to them so they know, and at least they're understanding and signing off on that risk. I think
Right.
that's definitely a big thing, and a lot of people wouldn't, right? A lot of people are just like, "Oh, well, it was in the fine print." Like, yeah, sure. Like, if the role was reversed, how would you feel, right? Like, the whole fine print thing is fine whenever you're on like the other side, but like when you're on the losing side of it, like you would feel like shit, be like, oh, okay, yeah, like I'm really gonna, sit there and read that before I sign it, like,
Yeah.
and that's just like the devil's advocate, side of it. Like I get it, like you don't want to take responsibility, but it really does come down to like you're saying, like tell them, talk to them, explain to them, hey, doesn't look like you've ever backed up this phone. Like maybe that's an add-on service, guys. Maybe this is an upsell. Hey, I noticed
iCloud
you're,
backups. $50
hey,
iCloud backups.
yeah, well, let us help you set it up. So you upgrade it for them, right? Like they're obviously if they have a payment method set up, then you're upgrading it right there in the app, and then just making sure everything is set up right. Just go through the quick setup of it and be like, okay, yeah, you're good to go. You're gonna be able, hey, you have family sharing, and if you want for like X amount per device, we'll set up that we'll make sure all the other devices on the family sharing are connected or whatever, and doing that. I don't know. I'm just getting creative. Like I know a lot of people are, I won't say a lot, but a lot of people have been, saying it's, slower recently. So you got to get creative with ways of thinking of, hey, how can I bring in a little bit extra money at the same time? I cloud back up $200, Richard said. See, there you go. It's
Bingo.
like it's like Geek Squad backup. Whenever I worked there, we charged like $200 for like insane. Like it was wild, like what we charged people, but they didn't have a problem paying it. It didn't matter.
It
Like they'll
just
pay
comes
it.
down to the service that you're providing them
Yeah.
and, who else provides it. And like with it's different than something like an iPhone 11 screen that everyone in town does, and you can call 10 shops and try to find the cheapest one. This is like more of a personalized solution to a problem that a lot of people don't even know that they have. So,
Yeah.
good point on that.
You got a little water leak back there somewhere. Not.
I've had them since I moved in. I call the landlord probably once every 2 weeks, and they send someone out and they fix one, and another one comes back.
It's usually how it goes. I feel
Yep.
mine's been the same way before, so I
When
understand
I
that.
moved in here, the pastor from the church next door to me came in and said, "That is the biggest thing that you're going to deal with."
Interesting. Well, I guess we'll wait for. Well, I'm not gonna wait for Tony really any longer. We'll kind of kick off a little bit with it. I know Gruber said he wanted to talk since he was obviously a victim recently of break-in, and David
Yeah, I was going
Ballard
to
as
say,
well.
you're talking about security and break-ins. Where's Chris Groover?
Yeah, him and David Ballard. Let me message them both. They both said they were wanting to be on here. Okay. Link.
Fix this FPC. Oh, geez.
So like I need to talk like the streamers. All right, chat. Messenger for Mac is it goes through stages where it's like really good, and then it's like ass. The other day I got an update from it, and it now has like some sort of professional mode for Messenger, and it like has all this different stuff. I don't know, but then it like doesn't sync certain messages because it's not truly end to end like the other non-professional. I don't know. It's like what the hell?
Interesting.
So if you want Zuck out of your messages, don't use professional mode. Okay, so sent them the links. Give them another minute or so to hop on, but yeah, I mean, I th Chris is responding. What's he gonna say? Crap, I'm on a call still, he says. All right, so we won't count on him
I have
joining
another
probably.
I have another piece of filler information.
Yep.
So the there's a smoke shop in the plaza across the street from me. And I went there one morning before I went to work, and I pulled up and the door and the window were broken in. Someone had broke in through the night. And they were still open, so I walked in there. I was like, "Oh, what happened here?" Because I'm right across the street. I'm kind of worried. I'm like, "Shit, am I next?" And someone had broken in and stolen, like, I think they said a little bit of like their they sell like Delta 8 weed, like not really weed but kind of
Yeah,
weed.
yeah,
Someone stole
yeah.
like a couple packs of it. But where I'm going with this is they got in through the door, breaking in the door, because on the window they had this really tough security film that they couldn't break through. And then I guess they tried the door
hmm
next and the door didn't have it on it. But I've been trying to look into that, and I want to
It's
mention that
three.
it
It's
really worked.
It's 3 a.m. I can't remember, and I'd have to go look at some posts in the group, but it's definitely been recommended before on other like break-ins. But it's like a 3 a.m. and it's some sort of like hurricane-proof type of film or something, or hurricane like resistant, not proof, obviously, but hurricane like resistant. But it also keeps it from all the glass from shattering. Yeah, like it's like a tempered glass essentially, or like a screen film that
Okay.
like keeps it all intact.
Yeah, because they were not able to get in through that window. So I've been thinking about, do I want to put that on everything? Because I got some big windows. Um, I was also thinking about getting one of those metal gates, but I feel like that's kind of unsightly.
Yeah, I mean, unless you could really like, if you could do it from the inside, right? And then they could be easily hidden. Like if you could figure out some
Yeah.
sort of system that you could do inside that does it's not like visible from the outside, so you could come in, I don't know. Obviously, I guess you'd have to do it somewhere on the outside to protect some entrance, but um yeah, I don't know. I I'm torn on them, right? Like I get it. They serve their purpose, but then like they also I don't know. I guess if they're easily hidden and they're not noticeable by customers in the, regular day, but I'd say you have
I
to be
get
in
one
like
of the
a
ones that
rougher
you can
spot.
like just slide open. It goes inside and then you just close it when you leave at night.
Yeah.
If I was gonna do any of them, because I don't want to put like, you see some of the stores in like Houston and Tampa and stuff that have like cages on the windows. That
Yeah.
looks ridiculous.
Yeah, there's some of them for sure. Like I've seen, like I picture like malls, like an old mall store, how like they would open. It'd be like that big like gate they'd like have to like pull down or like open up and like protects
Yeah,
everything. Something like that. Gruber said he might join out. Might join soon. We'll see. So, anyways, I'll get started on it regardless. My idea was obviously to talk about security. I feel like we still see posts. I feel it's 2025. We shouldn't be seeing posts of people getting not, and I'm not saying you're going to prevent a break-in, guys. And I'm not here to say that like this is possible. I'm just talking more of like the right steps of protecting your inventory, your customers' devices, like Ben and I were talking about earlier. Like, it's not just your stuff at that point, it's your customer's life if you're holding anything overnight, anything like that. So, there's a lot of different things I think that people just think, oh, nobody's ever tried breaking in. Like, you get comfortable. You start slacking. Like, maybe you used to lock stuff up. Maybe you had a safe. Maybe you did. And then like, oh, nothing ever happens. So then like the employee just stops caring and doesn't lock stuff up anymore. Or maybe you didn't have the processes. I don't know. I mean, there's just so many different things that I think, we can start with is for me, I think is just protecting the devices, getting a safe. Ben, you had the big safe just in your background. Yeah, right there. Guys,
Oh
safe
yeah.
is your best investment, right? That whether it's $500 safe, $1,000 safe, whatever it is, get a good safe. Don't get one that they can just pick up and carry out. And
Bolt it to the ground.
if you do get that one, bolt it to the ground and to the studs behind it, because they usually have both ways, behind and below. Get it in there. Like, you don't half-ass it. You need to protect the devices at this point, and that's the point. It's not just protecting the devices you have for sale on this, the showroom floor. It's your customers' devices. It's that MacBook that is getting worked on overnight. It's that iPad. It's whatever. Anything of your customers in there is pretty much more valuable than what you have in that safe because they're going to come at you with everything, and because that's their life. Now, as I was telling Ben earlier, like we have become so attached to our devices that like it is our life. You have everything on there, whether it's photos, payment information, passwords, text messages. Like they're just you've gotten so used to just doing everything on it that without it, you feel lost. And that's why customers also feel so detached whenever they give you it for repair, because at that point they're like, wait, like how long's it gonna be? And then they're like, okay, like can I come get it earlier? Like they don't want to be away from it that long. So some of you guys even have like, and I know Nathan does, like the rush service where you pay more to get pushed to the front of the line of repairs. And people are willing to do that just because they want to have their device back that much faster.
You know what? I just gotta say, I came in a little late because one of my technicians was on site. She'd been on site pretty much all day trying to do a clone, and it's this huge mess. And the customer pretty much is like refusing to let her bring it into the shop to get work done, which would be cheaper than paying $150 an hour. And she's been at it for like 6 or 7, or no, like 5 or 6 hours because she doesn't want to miss her device.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like that's to the point of like that's why the data on their devices, like that means it's that much more to them. So if like picture the call of, hey, our store is broken into, we didn't lock our stuff up, your phone was stolen in this incident, and sorry. Like how do you even do it? Like that to me, that's almost as bad as going and telling somebody like their, family members passed away or something. It's just like you've literally taken the life out of them because it goes further of just, beyond like everything that was on there. Sure, you have backups. Most people truly are not backing up their stuff. And that's a whole different discussion we could talk about on another, aspect of it because I think that goes deeper. But it's those kind of scenarios. Like everything was on there, like my kids' pictures from the last 10 years, and that's all we have. And it's only like a downward spiral, right? So like how can we prevent this? Is you get a safe, you're either bolting it down to the floor and the wall or whatever you can do to make sure nobody's getting that thing out. Put it in another room. If you have a second room you can lock it in outside of like your main area, like the more secure you can make it, the harder to get to it, the better, right? Another room that it can be locked in. Think that's the bigger piece of how you can make sure that you're going to keep them secure. So I think safe number one. Like if you don't have a safe right now and you've owned a shop more than a year, there's no excuse, right? Like that. We shouldn't see like people getting broken into with their devices stolen all the time like this. And again, it's not preventing people from breaking in, it's preventing the further headache of dealing with making these phone calls. Nobody wants to make this phone call or nobody wants this liability. Then it's like, hey, was there anything in the waiver that they signed? Did you explain, hey, before we bring this in for repair, we see that this, have you backed this up? Is this backed up? This that's all part of your intake, aspect, but like that's all protecting you long on an issue like this, arising, if something does happen. But like most people aren't going through those steps. So I think it's something to consider of, also educating your customer on like, hey, this isn't backed up. We are liable for your device, but if anything happens, with the data, like, or if a device is stolen, like you don't want to give them that scenario, but like finding a way to properly educate them and ensure that like you're kind of covering yourself, but like explain that it's in the waiver, like you're signing, agreeing to this. I don't know how you do it, right? I'm not in the sales side of it, so I'm not gonna pitch it perfect, but Ben kind of talked about it earlier. If you want to kind of run through that scenario again, Ben, for anybody that may be on now or listening.
This scenario about like what happens in I think I know what you mean. So like if it were ever to happen where someone breaks in and steals a customer's device, um, and it comes down to being like data, they're gonna come after you for everything because you can't put a price on it. So they're gonna go to their lawyer and say, "Oh, well, I didn't sign a waiver, or here's a copy of the waiver that I signed that doesn't mention anything about data." And they're going to say, okay, cool. How much is their policy limit? We're going to sue for all of it, or we're going to sue for more than it. We're going to bankrupt their business. We're going to, take everything from them. There's a lot of things that they have the ability to do if they don't kind of sign those rights away. Um, Hang on.
You're good. Yeah. So I will go to a or not question, but a comment on Facebook. Richard May, he was talking about how he had a break-in attempt, and he has an accordion gate and bars on his window in Toronto, 3M film on the window with glass break sensors, outdoor siren, cellular backup. Like, there's a lot of stuff we can dive into, right? Like that. He's got a good thing going right there. Like he's thinking about every level of it. Glass break sensors. We've got some here, and just hearing those go off, like because something was too loud near them, if we have it the high setting on, just hearing those go off, like it makes you want to hate life. Like you don't want to stay in there, like you don't want to be in the same room, you just want to leave. So if you have multiple windows, multiple sensors, right? Like one on every window is what we have. So if one breaks, it's setting off all. So it's going to be a loud mess. Like sure, they can eventually try to grab the sensor and break it, but again, you have an alarm like that. That's going to deter them a little bit longer from getting inside. So, like the ways you can prevent people from hopefully getting to the point of getting in and getting something is the films, the gates, securing the doors. Everybody's got a different setup. So, I can't speak to all of them. Like some are your standard metal, frame doors with glass in the middle, which I think is pretty going to be your average. Some of you guys may have other style doors if you're inside of I wouldn't say a building, but like kind of like an office space that has like shared inside access. You might have a different setup, and those could be easier to break in because somebody could be inside and they're not going to be outside where there's going to be glass breaking. It's a quiet, entry, so you are at higher risk of that. So there's so much stuff. Cameras, like we could break it all down. Tony, you get your hair cut or what? No, 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 no camera right now. Not even listening. So. Yeah, I mean cameras again, guys, that's another thing we can start with is, outside, inside, covering your register, covering covering your windows, your entrances from the inside, making sure you're covering a lot of these angles. And obviously, areas where there could be theft, right? It's not a matter, internal theft, employee theft. It's also can be an insurance, protection thing, having them in the tech areas while repairs are happening, battery explodes, something happens with, that causes another issue. You've got it all on video. So the more coverage you can get, and like camera systems are so cheap anymore. I don't think there's really even an excuse. You can get so unique with your setup, whether you want to have a big DVR system, whether you want to have, the easy to install ones like Blink or I don't know, the other, brands out there, Eufy, stuff like that. Like there's just different ways to do it. And it's so cheap. There's no reason not to, because in the end, you look back and if something happens, you're like, damn, wish I would have had those cameras. I wish I would have spent that $300 to put up cameras here or whatever the scenario is. Like that's step one, two after safe. Let's say cameras should be step two after safe. Alarm system next. Like that's kind of maybe tied in. Maybe you go with a system that is an alarm and, camera system M1, Ring. What's the other one out there? Can't remember the other brand that's pretty popular. Simple, I think. A lot of people I've seen recommend in the groups. They all have cellular backups. We have Ring here for alarm, door sensors, stuff like that. Don't have them for cameras, but Ring is like $10 a month for the professional monitoring. That's like why? Why would you not just go ahead and just do it yourself? It comes with a kit. You can buy extra sensors. Easy to do. Um, and you could obviously get professional systems if you have a nicer, build out. Obviously, it depends on, what you're storing in house. Some of you guys may have a lot more inventory. You want a lot more security, right? Nathan, you want to say something? I see you
Yeah, we
unmuted.
have one. Yeah, I was gonna say we have ADT as our alarm system, and then we have cameras set up separately underneath the DVR system, and it
ADT
definitely has.
sucks.
Oh, you suck, Tony. Not everybody is balling like you and can own their own security company. But no, serious. But yeah, we have. I mean, we got cameras everywhere, except for the bathroom, and I've even been considering doing that. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but we have cameras in the tech room pointed at their workspaces. We have them up front. I think in our retail space we have like four cameras to cover every angle, including cameras that are right above the registers to be able to watch people counting the money, and just to ensure that if a mistake happens, we're able to figure that out quicker than anything else. Um,
Exactly.
as well as yeah, because I think when we opened up our new Wilmington location, um, we had both of our portable speakers stolen, and we didn't have cameras to see who in the heck it was. And then so we immediately went ahead and got all of our cameras up, and that's not good. Definitely
Yeah.
not good.
No, and like, you're right. I mean, the thing is like the cameras are for your guys' protection. On top of it, it's like you're saying for the above the register. It's the customer says, "Oh, I gave them 100. They only gave me change for 20." Like the people that try to pull that kind of shit, right? It's like then you go back and show them like, no, like you easily be able to just to dispute stuff like that, or you guys told me this or you guys told me that, like, or there's so many scenarios of that, like, oh, whenever I brought it in, the girl at the front counter told me it'd be done by 5, or and it's whatever, like, just so many ways you're protecting yourself, and it just humbles customers. And I feel like they almost, whenever it happens in those situations, their guard falls back, and I feel like they just like are like, damn, all right, like I got caught, but like they're not dicks anymore. And now they're gonna kind of probably feel even worse and be like more of a potential upsell, right? Like 'cause they feel guilty, like damn, I was wrong, or, like I got caught, I was lying or whatever it is. Like, I don't know. But yeah, security is just a huge aspect, right? Like Tony,
Oh,
I don't know
shoot,
if you were
even
listening
recording your
before.
phones. I mean,
Yeah.
even recording your phone calls. I mean, there have been
Mhm.
ample amount of times where customers, they'll come in and they'll throw a fit, or, they'll disagree with the price and they'll say, no, I didn't agree to that. And, whenever you pull that call and review it with them, you know, the situation, now changes and they're all friendly with you.
Exactly. Yeah. No, they hate being called out, and you know, most businesses are not doing that kind of stuff, right? They're not doing, the precautionary stuff of like, oh, I've got the recording, you're wrong. Like we were, our people did say the right thing. Like, and if they do, maybe most people aren't even like able to take the next step and like stand up, right? Like, oh yeah, we do have it in place, but the customer's right. Like they don't even think twice about like going back, well, let's go double check the call just to make sure. Like, I don't know. So I think some people have it, implement it, but they don't like utilize it for the real reasons they should. They have it, but they're not actually just taking advantage of it.
You know,
But
um, one of the things, well, you can call it one of the pros of owning multiple locations is you can actually go through everything in a shorter amount of time. Like you'll see everything. So you know how I have a story that relates to every single subject that we have? So I have a story that relates to the cameras. So 3 days ago, I get a call from my partner and he was like, we caught this employee stealing. So cameras, of course. I think cameras works more better to watch your store from employees versus watch your store from customers, in my perspective. Um, so we have two different camera systems in every store. We have NVRs, like regular cameras, uh, which saves onto the NVR and 2 terabytes or whatever. And then we have Nest cameras, which easier to rewind, pretty clear microphone sound and all that kind of stuff. So, and the NVR system usually is still working while power is off because we have backup batteries. So just in case we have a outage, we have backup batteries connected to the NVR, and the NVR is connected directly to the Ethernet cable. So even if there's no power, we can still go back and see the recording without power. Nest cameras, of course, they work on Wi-Fi, as you all know. If you lose power, you lose recording. So that's why we have both of them. So I get a call, and they said that one of the employees who's been with us for 6 weeks. This employee was working at a previous franchise company in California, moved to Florida, and we hired him. It's crazy to say sometimes you feel like you lost a good employee because this guy has worked for You Break I Fix for years. So he knows the whole Samsung repair, iPad repair, the whole 9 yards. But 6 weeks later, we caught him stealing. So it's a loss for the company, but it's not a loss for the company, you know? So how this guy was stealing? He was creating a work order for the employee, for the customer. So the customer comes in with an iPhone 11, you tell him $100, and then he prints out a receipt for $100. He takes the $100 and he edited the receipt $20 less, and he submits it at $80, and he pockets $20. Let me take this call because it's a big order. Give me a second. Move on.
that's fine. Yeah. Um, to the point of the cameras, like we've talked about, like every angle you can get, like the more you can have, the better, right? Like you can never have an area, and like the good angle on some of these new cameras, they're so wide angle, you can get great views putting them up in corners, mounting them from ceilings, tech benches for repairs, anything like that, because maybe it's going back because something happened with the repair, right? And it's going back and like seeing maybe somebody did something wrong on the repair. And it's like, oh, hey, like you shouldn't have done this. Let's fix that. And let's make sure like you don't make this mistake again, but you're able to figure it out. And it's not like, oh, I didn't do it. Like I didn't do anything wrong. It was, I did it right. Like that's another like scenario of where you're, catching yourself to protect yourself, and putting your employee in the right scenario. So
Also, the
I'll let
time
Chuck.
frame that they're spending on every repair, it really means a lot.
Yeah.
We were talking about it last video. I think Chris was saying that his employees taking a long time repairing devices and whatnot. Cameras could be another way to work remotely, not being right next to your employees or in the store, and you can manage how long does your employee take per each repair. If your employee is getting and this is a good subject because if you're paying your employee $20 an hour, you know what I mean, and he is taking 1 hour to fix an iPhone 11 that you just sold for $79, you know what I mean? Screen costs 15, $20. $20 his payroll. And so that you're looking at 40 to $50 of investment with one repair. So now you're making $20 and he's making $20. So, cameras are very, very important, specifically as I probably seen showed a couple of videos ago where we have cameras right above the cash registers. Which also, like Josh mentioned, customer could say, hey, I gave you $100 and then it's $20. We had that happen a lot, and the cameras did resolve a lot of these issues. I don't think, in fact, that they save you from breaking in.
Yeah.
And I don't think, in fact, that they are helpful to the police to recover or to catch the thief. Um, they have better options like fingerprints and stuff like that, and they still don't catch nobody. So
Yeah.
it's more of either if 10 people wanted to break in, now you may have seven. You scared off three people, you know what I mean? But trust me, we've had break-ins where they broke a huge window which cost like $2,000 to steal a $20 speaker. Back when George Floyd riots were happening, we had a break-in in three locations, and one of those locations, a pickup truck drove into the whole entire building, costing us almost $28,000 worth of fixtures and building. Like they took down the whole bricks, and all they stole was like a $10 charger and a $25 speaker.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier. Nothing's going to prevent you, prevent a break-in, right? Like this isn't like stopping anybody from doing it, but like the more things you can do to stop them from getting further into the process, right? It's all preventative is, the first step, obviously, like locking your doors. Everybody does this already, but like then we start talking about like the films on the windows, the doors, whether it's that thick 3M film that helps, not like it'll still break the window, but it doesn't allow it to like shatter and fall in. It keeps it intact. um that keeps them, like we've seen videos of people trying to do it and get in and they spend a lot of time doing it. The goal there, so I think maybe the downfall there of having that is a glass break sensor might not go off there. So the glass break sensor to me is kind of a good deterrent because they're fucking loud. Those
Yeah.
things are like ear piercing, and if you have multiple, like that, it just makes you want to leave, right? So if you have that, then an alarm's going off, you're gonna think, hell, I'm out of here. Like I'm not risking it. Like,
Well, it
and
slows
maybe
down the
that,
process,
that's what I'm saying. You're preventing them from getting further into the building. The more you can do that, the better. And I think loud noise is the better. So maybe like I'm not saying don't get the 3M film, guys, but to me, I think that the loud noise is going to bring attention. So people are going, what the hell is that if they're out? Like, and obviously, if it's 1 or 2 in the morning, your only hope is the alarm is working anyways, unless somebody's just randomly out in that area, depending on where you're located. So it all depends on that. There's so many
Well,
variables, but.
do you know why I
But
told Nathan screw ADT?
well, you said something about you having
We
your
had a
own.
specific store that got broken into twice, and both times the thief walked around the whole entire store. Like he walks in, makes a right, go all the way down, turns around behind the counter, comes all the way out, and we found that the store was broken into 5 hours later. Alarm did not go off. Twice, same location. So I think you cannot prevent a store from breaking in. I think you can prevent losses. And I cannot stress enough on how many people are still leaving their devices in their showcase. Like, and these are the guys that I wake up to, in the middle of March or April, the income tax season, they're like, they stole all my entire inventory. Like, we literally been talking about this for 10 years. 10
Yeah.
minutes. 10 minutes. Take your inventory out, put them in a bucket, put them in a safe. Done. That's all it is. You give yourself two things. The most important one, of course, losses. The second important thing is you get to touch your inventory every single day and wipe down the screen and display it. And maybe today you want to circle it inside the showcase. Maybe today you want to square it or flat it. Like, it gives you it gets you out of that comfort zone. And we were talking
Yep.
about this a couple of videos ago. That comfort zone is a killer. Like, a lot of people get dragged into it. And I think if you're closing at 7 p.m., by 6:45, you're like, okay, it's time to, start closing off. You know what I mean? Shut off half of your store, mob down. Even if you're the owner, there's no shame in the game. Mob down your store, clean it up, grab the bucket, start putting the phones in. Maybe it's gonna click in your head that you've been sitting on this S21 for 4 months, and now it's losing value. I gotta go. Sorry.
Oh, the life of Tony. Yeah, so I mean, we've talked about cameras, we've talked about the kind of deterring from the front end with, films, alarms, all that. So the safe, obviously, the biggest thing, right? Like, and I'm sure, like, it's been a while, maybe a year or two, but pretty sure there was a shop that had like, oh, I think he physically had it though, but it was like he had something like a bear spray or something. Is that what it was? Anybody know? The guy like, I think he did a customer. Or was it somebody breaking in? I think it was somebody breaking in or like trying to rob the place, and he came at him with like some spray or something instead of a gun, I guess. But outside of that, Richard mentioned having some sort of like smoke that goes off if you can break in. I'm sure there's some like crazy contraptions out there, but at the end of the day, like having the devices, anything of real value, obviously your accessories aren't worth taking off the wall, anything like that, but anything of high value do you need to put up? And then, somewhere more secure into another room in the safe, locked up, bolted to the wall, bolted to the floor. Don't leave the key on top of the safe, like the obvious stuff, right? Like lock your cash in there, everything. Like where are you locking your cash at? Where are you leaving your cash at night? I hope you don't leave it in your cash register. Um, some people do, but I hope you don't. At least lock that up too. Especially if you're a shop that buys a lot of devices. You guys keep a lot of cash on hand, so that's another key. Let's see what else we got for security aspects here. If I'm missing anything, feel free to speak up. Trying to think if I'm missing.
I think the other thing to consider when you talk about security as well is, and this is going to sound cliche coming from me, but cybersecurity. Um, are your systems protected where if your employees' passwords and things were to get compromised, is there a way to mitigate that risk from you? Do you have things in place like two-factor authentication, backup solutions? I know you were mentioning earlier backups for our customers. What about backups for yourself? Um, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's in the cloud. Well, what if it's deleted from the cloud and you don't back up the cloud? Well, that's a problem too. So, ensuring that you have those safeguards. And also, are you limiting what your employees can and can't do in your systems? Are you
Yeah.
allowing everybody to be able to see everything and do everything, or are you limiting them to really what they are required to fulfill their jobs? You don't want to have too many hands in the pot because that can cause a lot of issues. So, Yeah, I just wanted to add that. And, what happens if you get a ransom attack and on your computer and it encrypts, your data and even your cloud data? Do you have
Yeah.
safeguards in place to protect you against that? Are you
True.
protecting your customers' credit card information? Are you PCI compliant?
Most people have never, I would almost bet most people have not heard of PCI compliant in this industry. I know because I come from IT, but PCI compliant, and we have a lot of stuff that I dealt with, HIPAA and stuff like that. So like that was always a big thing. SOC 2,
Yep.
um, it's all important, but I think, the I will say the average person doesn't know what they are or what they mean or if it's important to them or their business. Some of them are, some of them aren't. Like you're saying, though, PCI is like that. You're processing their payments and their credit card data. So there is definitely more to it. And I'll be honest, I don't know what is even, to be PCI compliant at this point because I know things have definitely changed since I've, been in that space.
Yeah. And I know, a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, I don't need it," or "I don't want it." We specialize when we do IT support for businesses. We specialize in companies that have less than 10 employees. So we're dealing with the small mom and pop shop operations, and it's incredible what these criminals are doing nowadays, where they'll get into your systems and they'll just watch your emails. They'll watch who you communicate with regularly. They'll watch what type of invoicing you do. They'll watch all of those things going in and out from vendors to clients, and then they'll either send you a phishing email that you click on, and now you've been got, or they'll go ahead and send fake invoices to your customers and intercept money. So just something to think about, moving into 2025, finding a way not just to, we talk about security for our shops, make sure that you have security protect your business and also to protect your customers. Because even if you have business insurance and you're hit with something like that, just like with any insurance policy that you have, if you don't have proper safeguards in place, they're not going to fulfill it. They're just going to laugh you out of the room.
Got anything to say, David? We've talked a little bit about different things, cameras, safes, just kind of, alarms, screen film type of stuff for the windows, glass break sensors. But I know you said you had a lot of you want to talk about, so
Yeah, I mean, you guys have already covered like the basics. I guess the biggest hurdle that I see a lot of people ask questions about is, getting started or how to do it. Um, it's really not super complicated. You can obviously go with like a company like ADT or a local security company, but a lot of it can just be managed in house. Um, Recently, we switched to Simply Safe. Um, and it's been great. We were using Eufy before, so there's a lot of like DIY security systems that you can have that are active monitoring that don't tie you down to a contract like ADT does. Their contracts are super predatory, especially when you read the fine print. Um, and they will they will pursue you if you cancel. Before your maturity date, and if you don't cancel before your maturity date in writing, they'll just automatically renew it, and it's all right there in their contract. So, to avoid getting yourself in a situation like that, having a active monitoring system, making sure that your security system has its own backup power supply, has an LTE enabled option. So even if it loses power and loses internet, within that 2 minute time frame when the sensors are tripped, it's still able to alert police. But the biggest obstacle or excuse me, not obstacle, but the biggest thing that you want to create in your shop's environment for prevention on being broken into is making sure that the shop is very dark or completely dark, no lights, nothing to give the layout easy to navigate once they're in the store if they haven't already cased it beforehand, which I would say like 50% of cases are pre-cased, and then 50% of it is just crime of opportunity. So they're there, they see it, they break in, but they have no idea where anything's at. And so the space being very dark, making sure that you're locking everything up in the store of value in a safe that's bolted to the ground. Um, and then having locks on your door handles going into different rooms, even if it's just a standard lock. Each function is just causing them a delay. And then in your security system, having sirens that are both inside and outside are super important, because when it trips, as soon as that siren goes off inside the store, it's going to be so disorienting. And then having it outside of the store also in unison with the one inside, it creates an environment where if they've successfully broken the glass, got through the door, and they're in the store, once that goes off, I mean, they just have a few minutes before either they get caught or in the act, or they're able to ever get anything, because it's real. We tested ours, and dude, like all the thoughts I had in my head were just gone. Like I was like, I can't think straight with this going off. So, yeah, and just creating multiple steps. A lot of places will allow you to put like security bars on your windows and things like that. That's you can do that, and you think that your clientele won't be turned off by that. Obviously do that, but not every city or every code compliance will allow that. Like my shop's in an area where we're not allowed to have bars on the windows and stuff like that, because that creates an unsafe or an unsavory environment, right? Which I think is bullshit. I should be able to secure my building, but there's nothing I can do about that. So if you can't have bars on your windows, you need to make sure it's dark. You need to make sure you have a safe bolted to the ground. If you are a heavy cash based business, like we all can be, having a drop safe specifically for cash, so that as your employees take cash, they put it in drop envelopes, and they put that cash in that specific safe. So even in the event you were to be robbed during business hours for cash, it's like, hey man, time lock safe. Literally, like, can't get into it. All the money's in there. I don't know what you want to do. You can take the money that's in the till, which should be like $100 or so, never keeping large bills, and then they take that money and they're gone, right? Nobody's hurt, nobody gets shot, nobody gets pistol whipped. They get the money because all they want is some money. But if you're going to give them some money, don't give them all your money. Give them just what's in the safe, or in the till, or in your cash bag, whatever your setup is. I personally think not having a cash drawer visible, or just one at all, eliminates the opportunity for somebody to come back and rob you on a different day, because they see that there's no cash drawer. So they're less likely to come back and try to rob you for your cash if they don't see that as an opportunity. Because most crime is a crime of opportunity, typically, in my experience, at least. We've been broken into one time, and everything I've mentioned prevented them from really getting anything but the iMac that we used for check-in and check-out in our front lobby. And they didn't even really steal that, because the funny part was is they called in a fake shooting 10 minutes before they busted the door in. So the cops go to the fake shooting location, and then
We lost him.
I'm
There he
on the
is.
web browser. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
I had a call coming through. Yeah, they come in, and one dude's sitting out on the bench. He's the lookout, and the chick comes in, and she like can't see anything because it's fucking dark as shit, and just you can't see anything. It's like everything's dark. And so, like, she jiggles on the door handle. She can't get into the tech area because it's locked. And so she just, like, unplugs the iMac and takes that and, walks out the door with it. And then they throw it in the bush. They get back in their car, and then the cop stops them. And, like, 3-4 hours later, they're both arrested and charged. Both went to jail, all that good jazz. It was drugs, of course. But what's interesting is they both were customers, had been customers multiple times, like 6 months prior, and then just like they got hooked on drugs and thought, oh, I know I can go to this, they go to the shop and we can rob them at night. And yeah, they didn't get shit because all those precautions that I mentioned, we took, and it prevented a break-in. But at the end of the day, if they really want what you got and they plan it
I'll get
right,
it.
they'll get it right. But making
Yep.
it comfortable and as disorienting as possible and wasting as much of their time leading up to that point while they're in there,
Yep.
it reduces your loss of risk at the end.
100%.
And that's what you're really trying to create. You're trying to get an uncomfortable environment that they cannot, operate in efficiently, so that you don't get your shit stolen.
Yeah.
But there's organized theft rings out there, man, that they come in, they bolt the chain up to the safe, pull that bitch out the floor. If they want it, they're gonna get it. But how often does that happen, right? It's like I said, it's a crime of opportunity, man. They throw a brick through your window, they bust in, they grab what they can, and then they're out. And then most of the time they're not even from the area, right? So
Yeah, that's what
um
I was saying earlier. It's about it's not nothing's gonna stop you from getting broken into, right? But yeah, it's about preventing them getting further into the building. So my first thing was, to me, and I don't know because I've never tested, but like I like the glass break sensors. They make you hate life hearing them, and you want to instantly just like leave if you've got some good ones, right? And if you have a lot of windows, you're gonna have multiple, so if they're all gonna go off. And you want something that's going to draw attention to the building, no matter what time of night it is. You never know who may be out there, whether it's a cop or just somebody who works a late night shift, something, whatever.
yep,
Um, but again, like that's one more step of preventing them. But the caveat I wondered was if you get the 3M film on your windows and stuff, would you even be able to have glass break sensors? Because I think that would eliminate that high decibel break of a sound that would need to set it off, unless it's like it almost need to be an impact type of sensor, right? Like where it felt something hit that window just enough and shook it that it would go off. Because I feel like it
for
would
sure.
dampen the sound because it's decibel based on how like those go off. I've bumped into shit and set ours off before, like hit stuff hard enough
Yeah,
where it set them off close. But I don't. I guess if it hits close enough to the sensor, it may go off.
maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like our sensors would simply say if they're on the wall facing the glass, so they're not like on the glass, they're facing the glass. But they haven't tripped. Like they've
Yeah.
just we're also not like slamming the door or bumping into it
Right.
bricks. So it's kind of hard to you know make like shake the building if you would. My second store, we had big panes of glass with like no support separators,
That
and
we
like
are.
whole thing would like flex if open the door, and it would go off all the time. So I guess it's sound and also maybe force oriented too. Um, personally, I think I don't know. I don't think I'd have them because I would want the glass break sensors to go off. I want the glass to break because then once it breaks, the motion sensor and the glass break sensor are going to go off, and when they go off, the siren's going to also trigger. So you're going to have the glass break sensor, you're going to have the siren sensor going off all simultaneously, along with like the home base is going to start going off as well. So I'd almost probably not. I mean, I just have 10 on the windows, which isn't the 3M security stuff, but I imagine it's probably similar. Um, that's just because the sun just beats in on the front, so
Yeah.
we can't
That's
not have
that's
like.
exactly. Chris had an Ocean's 11 style break in recently, though. If he can tell his story.
Oh, what's up, guys? Sorry, I'm like an hour late.
There he is.
I decided to go shooting so I could actually practice because there's been way too much crime in the area with people getting shot and stabbed and robbed. So, hello. Yeah. So I've had 3 break-ins. The first one, I mean, I called that they were going to break in the next day because they didn't take everything the first time. So that was the first time. That was first break-in, and that was really rough because that was my first one. The second one, we really planned for it. We planted air tags in the laptops that they laptops out in the front area just to plant them because we knew they were coming back. And we put air tags in those laptops and removed the drives out of laptops. Luckily, the police were very vigilant the second day. They caught them in about 4 minutes of our alarm going off, and I watched them live on my security camera catch and arrest the thieves. Really, really cool. And then he bounced his, court date, multiple times. Just recently in November, we had a break-in, and honestly, I don't really know what happened. I know my phone was getting blown up at, 2, 3 a.m. at night, and I'm sleeping. I woke up and I was just like, what? And my buddy was like, I'm outside your shop, and your alarm's going off and everything like that. So what happened was, I guess a transformer blew in the area, and I try not to point fingers when this happens, but some way or another, either we left our back door unlocked, or or they picked the back door without us knowing, because at the time it was just a key and a deadbolted lock. So they got into our thing. I really don't understand it, because they could have taken a lot more. My thought is that my backup battery system lasts about 15 to 20 minutes when there's a break-in. So when there's a break-in, that alarm goes off. That alarm is a deterrent. That's the goal, is it's the deterrent. So we had that happen, and it was rough. That was also before I added a lock to my safe, before we did, a lot of stuff in December. And they pretty much took all the phones, pretty much like anything of value, but it was really weird because they left a lot of stuff. So I think it was really a time-based thing that they broke in. There was really nothing we could have done to really prevent them from picking the lock when that power was out. When the power is out, your system's down, your backup battery's down because the power's been out for, a certain amount of time. That Simply Safe alarm, it's great, but when that power is out and you rely on that battery, you best make sure that those batteries are always charged in the Simple Safe alarm. Because if it's not, that Simple Safe alarm will not go off and it will not alert the police. So I learned that one the hard way. To be honest, they were in and out way too quick. I don't have camera footage. I have no proof. The police didn't care enough to do footage. So what we did to kind of combat this issue, whether or not they want to break in through the glass, just like David said, if they want to break in, they're going to break in. They're going to go through the glass. They're going to go through our front door. I got 5 flipping windows to my business. It's kind of stressful, but I've accepted it. If it happens, it happens. I'd rather it happen in the front and have somebody from Chevron next door give me a call late at night, because I'm friends with everybody in the area. But what we did to combat the back doors is we actually have 2 back doors. And what we did is we bolted a 2x4 to the back door, bolted another 2x4 to the back door. And then what happens is there's it's an L hook at that point, and then you put that 2x4 in the back door. And when you put that 2x4 in the back door, it doesn't matter if they pick the lock. It doesn't matter if they drill through the lock. They're going to have a hell of a time trying to get into that building now through that back door and being silent about it. They're going to have to be loud about it. So just like David said, if they want to attach a chain to a truck and rip out the damn door, all power to them. But that's what we have, now. We have backup security systems. I was about to add more security alarms. I'm upgrading my battery backup because I think 15 to 20 minutes is not good in a power outage, and I need at least an hour to 2 hours. Really, there's not a lot to do, you guys, to do to protect yourselves, really. Just like David said, keeping the safe locked at all times. This is something we're really anal about now. Our inventory is very, very tightly managed, not because I'm worried about my employees stealing it, but because I'm worried that what happens is when I've gotten robbed 3 times, I've had to produce proof that I bought all of these devices each and every flipping time to them. And my insurance company, I'm very, very blessed to have the insurance company I have. They have treated me with extreme professionalism. But it's still a violation, and it hurts. So I mean, don't keep large amounts of cash in the store. Like I know some of these guys, these cell phone guys will keep 20, 50 grand cash in their safe or something like that. Man, I just go to the bank like every 2 days, and I'll deposit, or sorry, not deposit, or I'll withdraw, because we'll spend our cash on devices. So I mean, that's my experience with it. Like I said, I've had it happen multiple times. It really sucks. I don't really think there's anything you could do to really, really prevent it, as much as just being prepared for it when it happens, so that you don't have to argue with an insurance company to give you X amount of dollars. So.
To note on this Simply Safe, the Simply Safe has its own up to an hour or hour or better backup battery built into the base to keep the LTE signal up, so that it can send the trigger. And I don't know about other systems, but I thought that was a really cool feature, that it built in LTE with its own backup separate from the server backup. So even if the server backup runs out, the Simply Safes will kick on when the backup battery power is unable to feed it power.
I cannot recommend Simply Safe enough. We actually spent the 75 or 80 bucks or something on the auxiliary siren alarm because we've got what my business is I have one business and then I drilled a hole to the next business next door that we bought and took over. So now I have two separate locations, but only one location. So in a weird way. So we did the auxiliary siren alarm. The auxiliary silent alarm is an absolute game changer. It is freaking loud and it lets them know, get the hell out of the shop. But the issue I always have with the Simply Safe thing is I swear to God, those batteries are always dead because our power gets cut in our area so flippin' often. Whether or not it's intentionally cut, whether or not it's some idiot, running into a pole. This has been a huge, huge issue for us. And I've kind of just realized there's not much there's not much we could do. Like when I was at home in November and we had that break in, I mean, I didn't know about broken into. I couldn't do anything. I Simply Safe didn't alert me. Simply nothing happened because I'm guessing what happened is they cut that power or they didn't cut the power. We had a blown transformer. I'm guessing that transformer was blown for 25, 30, 40 minutes. I don't know how long that was blown for. So we don't know if it was a crime of opportunity. We don't know if it was on purpose. So, but Simply Safe, I mean, honestly, guys, for 32 bucks a month for the value trouble disarming the alarm in the 30 seconds that we.
Their logos are yellow, right?
No, blue.
The Simply Safe.
Oh, blue. Okay. I think a smaller companies, like a smaller alarm companies, are a lot better than corporate, like ADT and stuff like that. I think they care more about their customers. They have their hands on point.
Predatory. They're just terrible. They lie to you. Their contracts are
ADT?
predatory, and
Yeah, they're
ADT,
fucking garbage.
yes,
even though I have them, but they're garbage.
So
we I because when we got broken into, we had them, and the sensors they just didn't go off, and they're like, yeah, well, you didn't click this button or something, and I'm like, the fuck you mean, man? Like we armed the store, like you should be covering my glass, and then they're like, no, we can't do that. I was like, all right, like if you want your money, you're gonna have to sue me, and then they just gave up, because ultimately the contract was under a separate LLC. I closed it. It's no longer existent, so they just couldn't pursue it, and they turned it off and left me alone. But damned if having to deal with that was pain in the ass. So yeah, don't for ADT. Don't sign up for any security company when Simply Safe and Eufy and other DIY, like you order the kit yourself, options exist, and it's $30 a month. Like ADT at the bare minimum is $100 a month, and you're gonna get subpar customer support and help when you need it. But they're there to take your money, and the salesman smiles with a firm hand.
Yeah, I don't recommend them. I really don't. I think they are the worst alarm company out there, to be honest with you. Their name is just, they do a lot of marketing and, you know what I mean?
So if anybody wants a reason to get Simple Safe, as I've told you guys, I've gotten broken into. I've also had the police show up at my shop during times where the shop has not gotten broken into, mostly because I don't turn off the alarm in a certain amount of time. I used to put my stuff down, then turn off my alarm. I learned not to do that because they will call the police within about 15 seconds of that 30 seconds being up. They do not wait around. And if you do not know your security word, you better just be prepared for the police to show up. I cannot tell you how many times my security word has been wrong for whatever reason, and they have just sent sheriffs to my place, and I've had to explain that I own the business. So Simple Safe is very good. They're on top of their stuff.
Good, bad problem to have.
Yeah.
I know all the sheriffs by name. It's a good problem. good problem.
So let me ask you a question. Does everyone here who owns retail stores hide their devices at the end of the day, or is it just still people are still not following these protocols? And
every day,
as much as like
20 minutes.
As much as again, I stress it again, I guarantee you in the next month or two, you're gonna get somebody said, I woke up at 3:00 in the morning, they cleaned up my showcase.
All their
100%.
Even though we say that so many times,
a lot of people
say it very simple.
Can't happen to me, or I've been open 5 years, it's never happened to me. So they get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, and they just, it is just ignorance, right? They think, oh, it's not gonna happen to me. Like, what do you mean, bro? Like, it could happen to anybody at any moment, and it does, right? There's so
They
many.
broke into one of my stores because we had the boxes in the showcase, like empty
Yeah,
boxes.
we don't keep
Yeah, we started cleaning everything up.
all the blinds are shut, so there's no coming up to the window looking in. Like, if you want to get in the store when we're closed,
You know the
you're
funniest break-in that we had?
breaking in
Funniest
the
break-in
door,
we had
and then
was
you can,
someone breaking in through the roof, and
yeah,
they fell through the ceiling tiles on their head.
uh, that's some that's some America's.
Bro, look, this guy falls off the ceiling into the ground on his head. And you know how Tom and Jerry like gets up and he
Yeah.
start like doing shit circles? Bro, look, the crazy part, this guy breaks through the roof of the plaza, the shopping center. And then when he gets into the ceiling, I think he tried to like step on the ceiling tiles. And this is one of the highest ceilings of any of my stores. It's so
Yeah.
high. I think it's like over 10, 12 feet high. The guy falls straight on his head. He gets up. The minute he gets up, he's so dizzy, he went straight for the glass. Like he broke the glass from inside out with his head. Bro, it was hilarious.
That's fucking great. Oh, you almost don't want to arrest him. Like, dude punished himself.
They caught him. That's the funny part. They caught the guy almost 45 minutes later, and the guy is like bleeding and shit. And the police were like, this guy probably is on like 20 different kind of fucking pills. The guy just not feeling nothing, man. It's so hilarious. But it's again, it's always when you're hiding your devices, it's not the money you're mad about, it's that 4 o'clock in the morning wake up, which sucks, like it really sucks. It's just you get that adrenaline and you're feeling like you're driving. But now the best part about not having devices in the store and hiding them in the safe, you're driving to the store safe. You're not speeding, you're not mad, you're not angry, you're not like you're in full control of the whole entire thing. Because the worst case scenario, you lost a $500 glass window.
Yep, exactly.
Honestly, being small, it's really hard. The first all right. So I'm going to say this with a grain of salt. I don't think I would really be where I honestly was at unless I got broken into. To be honest, David knows this. He's understood my business for a while. It really sucks. There's really nothing like it. But lock up your devices. Like it. Spend the extra 20 to 25 minutes because the amount of time that you lose. We lost 4 sales the day after we got broken into. Somebody came in to buy a MacBook. 2 people came in to buy phones. It was something else, but we lost a lot of sales. So it wasn't just.
Let me ask you a question, Chris. I know some people. I don't know how they're handling it. Maybe with multiple locations, it's hard. I've known some people who are putting iCloud on their devices.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. So here's my take on that. So we. All right. Yeah. Okay. So this really sucks because we actually had iCloud on our devices the first time we got broken into. Or actually, that might have been the third time. One of the times that we got broken into, we learned our lesson. We had iCloud on the devices, but we had no device password. Those motherfuckers tried to reset my Apple password. And I am so fucking mad because they turned Find My Phone off on every goddamn device. Find My Phone was either off or on. I did not recover one single device. I did not track them all. They are all sitting on my Apple account right now. Apple themselves cannot tell me what devices and IMEIs they're even linked to. I just have all these devices that are on iCloud, and it is frustrating. So
anybody
iCloud
recommends putting the iCloud? Nathan,
not just iCloud,
Dave?
man. If they have access, open menu access, it's so easy to reset a phone if you have even a little bit of access. So what we do is we do a PIN code now. The PIN code changes every 30 days. We don't tell anybody the PIN code. We put iCloud on it. We also make sure
What is the
Find
PIN
My
code
Phone is turned
now?
on. What's my PIN code now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So with that, is it a personal iCloud account or is it an MDM business account?
Nah, so we just did a personal iCloud. We just did personal iCloud account. I didn't see a huge problem with it. We thought about doing business though.
You have to have an MDM Apple account in order to add multiple phones and devices to one singular
Ah.
to then be able to see each phone's serial number, model number, software version. It gives
And
you,
you're able to get that now. Are you still able to find my iPhone while the
yeah,
devices are off?
all that stuff still works.
No,
However,
while it's off.
yeah, I mean that's just an enabled functionality on iOS 16 or 17, whatever
So it's
that
a
was.
100% catch. So if you actually get phone
Yeah, yeah.
stolen,
Now, if they are able to get access to the menu, where it says iCloud, it's going to say the name of the business, but it's going to say it's managed and supervised by an MDM.
okay.
Even if they reset it or they bypass it, you'll still be able to retain that data and not see the device, because if they bypass it, it's bypassed. But if
But
they
with the
lost enough,
MDM, you're able to
You
locate
know,
the device, even if the device is off and is not connected to Wi-Fi.
correct, you're able to see more function. You're able to see more data when you're managing it from a business account with Apple through an.
so I would care more about that, except for once my device is stolen, I really don't have time to go fucking trace it and kind of figure this out. Because I also know that the police over here don't give a damn if you have an address of your stolen stuff. They
Yeah,
don't care unless they see it themselves. It doesn't do me any good. The way I got around the IMEI problem and not knowing what phone was on what phone, because every time we'd reset a phone for the store, it would just label it iPhone. What we do is we do iPhone 13 PM and then the last four of the IMEI. That's what we started doing, changing the number. That alleviates the issue of having to move to an Apple business account and deal with that. And
I'm,
honestly, like I said, I don't care if they take the phone. They're not going to give it back if it has MDM lock. They're not going to give it back if it has
Yeah.
iCloud. They're going to go sell it to some dude down the
He's gonna
fucking
come back
street.
and say, "Hey, sir, I just stole this phone from you, and I have an MDM account."
So once upon a time, my first break-in, I actually did have somebody come back 2 weeks later saying that for whatever reason my name was found in the email or something, but they couldn't produce what email it was, and it was a very weird situation. And right when they left, it kind of clicked in my head, and I was like, why the fuck would and then it clicked in my head, and then I was like, oh my god, they probably have one of my stolen fucking phones, and I just let them walk out. And it's the end of the world, I have enough stress as is just trying to keep my business running. Once
I
they
think,
get
Chris,
stolen,
you should not open a second location, man.
I don't want a second location right now, man. I like my single.
Yeah. It's stressful.
I like my single, but I'm just not gonna chase down. I'm not gonna chase down stolen devices. It just doesn't make sense for my safety. It doesn't make sense for a number of reasons to try to chase them down.
Makes sense.
I mean,
Makes sense.
Here's a
yeah,
quick question. Does it do you any better knowing that the guy who stole the phone can't use the phone? Does that make anybody actually feel any better? Because to me, I
yeah.
didn't want to pay the money to blacklist the phone. It wasn't worth it for me to pay all that money to blacklist the phone when I already took a 15 grand loss.
Now, for me, if I'm taking the loss, I want to make sure that what they stole is as absolutely useless as it possibly can be. So,
Does
you
any
know,
of you have a relationship with your competitors in situations
Oh
like
yeah.
this?
Oh
Like, would
yeah.
you let your competitors know, or like if somebody grabs a phone and run out with it, you guys have
Bro, I
any?
wouldn't even call my competitors because like we all have our own strong suits that we're good at. Like the
Yeah.
CPR is my closest competitor, and they're just good because they're authorized for everything. So I mean
Yeah.
that's why CPR is good.
let me get a
But how's your
Yeah,
relationship with
I'm
the owner?
mine is the same way with you guys probably seen him posted in the group
Boham,
um
Bonham.
Bo Dorsey.
Oh,
Bodor.
Yeah,
okay.
Bo
Yeah, yeah.
Dorsey,
Oh,
North
cool.
Carolina.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So him and
Oh yeah.
I
Micro
work.
solder champ.
Yeah, one of our technicians, or not, one of our stores is in the same area that he does business, and him and I message back and forth. In fact, he sent me the message today about a shop that was like, "Hey, did you know that they opened up?" I'm like, "No, they have no
Wow.
marketing presence, nothing going on." But yeah, anytime we have things like that happen, or uh, customer fly off the handles, we always like to warn each other, just like
Oh
as
yeah,
an
oh yeah,
FYI.
oh
That's
yeah.
Oh
nice.
yeah.
Yep.
100%. Yeah, my dude, the repair shops down the streets are my friends. I'm buying a 15 Pro Max Stream from one of them tomorrow for a repair. And I, it goes what goes around comes around. It's not worth it just to have It's not worth it just to say, well, I'm going to do business here and, screw this person and, they're a competitor. I don't ever want to help them or do anything. Honestly, we've gained so much by helping competitors because they've helped us in return.
Yeah, there's enough meat on the bones. Even though I want the entire
Literally.
steak, there's still enough
I
meat
mean,
left.
CPR has bailed me out so many times because they have every damn screen in stock at all times. Like every single display I could ever want, they always have it in stock.
Is that a CPR thing or that's a specific person thing?
Well,
I think
recently CPR, I guess they allow consignment, so you can quite literally get everything and have it,
Oh,
and then
really? Like, you mean consignment on parts?
they bill you
yes.
on a
Oh,
usage.
okay. But
So
who would be their
CPR stores
vendor?
really the CPR they have to go. A lot of them go genuine. So like I needed to buy an S20 something screen or whatever, and they told me they were like, well, yeah, we could sell it to you, but when my tech got there, they were like, oh shit, we only have an out of frame option. We can't sell the out of frame because if we sell you the out of frame, we have to get back the we have to pull the OLED and send. And it was like a whole thing. But the manager of that CPR loves me. He's super awesome. The owner doesn't. I don't think he probably likes me because he doesn't like me buying their parts for near their cost. So they always charge me a little over their cost, which is
Fair
fair.
enough, yeah.
I'm happy enough, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, you're not the guy who's
they
investing on it,
yeah, they've pulled me out of a lot of
Speaker
sticky
phone.
situations, just like that post I made about that customer yesterday. Like that customer that just wasn't happy with the data recovery because they needed the phone or something. Whatever. I just gave the damn phone to CPR and told them to fix it, and they fixed it for me. And but anyway, well, I'm gonna hop off, guys. Enjoy your guys' day. Hopefully nobody gets broken into after this call.
Hide your kids,
Yeah.
hide your wives. I mean,
Right.
hide your phones, hide your.
I drive.
Hey, David, it's almost time for us to have our every 3-month call.
All right, sounds good, buddy.
Okay. All right, bye, guys.
Yeah, I
All
haven't
right.
heard back from you yet. So
Okay.
Yep. I was gonna say let's wrap it up. I've got to go run an errand anyway, so we'll come up. I'll brainstorm some ideas this weekend. I think we've talked. Tony, actually, you suggested already tax prep kind of stuff. So maybe we'll talk. Let's just plan on talking about that next week. Maybe we'll try to get Jeff Sandridge or like anybody who's like bigger into device sales and stuff like that in their shops or anybody like that may be able to drop some insight on how
Let's
they
try
do
to
some
get
stuff. It
to
might help.
Alex Jones as well, if possible, maybe. I don't know
Yeah,
how
yeah.
do they have
I'll ping
taxes
him.
on there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
GSM Warehouse, guys. I don't plug it enough, but GSM Warehouse. Get your devices on.
Yeah.
Holy Fry is going
I would
to provide food for the next meeting.
Next
say
time we have an expo in Tampa, you'll definitely have Holy Fry.
Nobody's having a fucking expo in Tampa.
Maybe. You never know.
Yeah.
I think about taxes is it's very, very state dependent. So
Oh yeah.
it might be difficult to talk about taxes unless it's coming from a state.
Sorry. We're talking about tax like refunds, like you get money coming in for people buying devices and stuff
Oh,
like
well,
that.
like tax
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
liability.
no, we're not
yeah.
getting into the political
Nobody,
But
part of it.
but
let's talk about
but
that.
that is a good discussion because that's always a question, or people ask questions like, oh, and everybody's like, this isn't a question you ask your accountant. So like
Yes.
we should, I can definitely find somebody to bring on even in that space to where we can be like,
Well,
hey, like we almost why hasn't somebody just opened up like or got like a good
no, I think
referral
there's
for
some
like a
people
good
who are actually in the cell phone industry in the group that is an accountant. So maybe
okay.
we can ask anyone has a license for an accountant. Maybe we can hop on.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll post in the
I,
groups and see if we get anybody that pings. But yeah, I mean, I feel like there's like some accounting group. I've seen this kind of they specialize in this space and other spaces, but like this is like one they niche on. But I think that's a good opportunity there. Yeah, a lot of people just kind of either wing it, don't do it, or just nothing,
People are
right?
already
Like they just don't
starting
know
to
what to do.
apply for taxes. So I think the first wave of tax refunds are around February 18th or 20th.
yep.
So
Sounds
you
about
should
right.
probably say get ready for those who are preparing themselves. So maybe in the next 2 to 3 weeks, you're gonna start seeing people, getting paid.
Yeah.
Yep. But about
Hopefully, yep,
the
we'll see it.
like, having an accountant keeps you compliant too. That's the other thing. Because their job is to stay on top of code and deductions and things like that too. And then if you do get an audit, having a retained accountant comes typically with an audit protection. So like if you're audited, they handle that audit. They communicate on your behalf. They can sign for you. They can talk for you. They can manage it. This way you can continue to run your business and just,
Yeah,
only
if we get
deal
an
with.
accountant, I think we can have the proper advices from them.
Correct. Yeah.
Maybe on the next couple of times around. Maybe we can find somebody who has experience in the cell phone industry and who's actually an accountant, so we can get
Yep.
like confirmation on answers.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it was definitely, and plus it's a good business for them too, right?
Yeah.
For them to come
Maybe
on
they can
off
sign
and
off
share.
some new people.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of contacts for their business, and I mean, I don't think I'd trust that personally. So, but teaches their own. But yeah, definitely, I think having
Then
somebody come on and talk.
Fair enough. All
agreed.
right. I'll see you
All
guys.
right.
You have a good
Yep.
All right.
weekend.
Yeah, you too, man.
See
You
you
guys
later.
have a good
All right.
weekend.
Bye.
See you
Talk to you.
guys.
Bye.